Hey Kim, welcome officially to week number 1. Here we go. This is Kim's week 1 kickoff. I did not mean that to be a pun based on the app that we are using. I just thought kickoff was a cool way to title your week 1. But it sounds like you have a lot of experience with working out, and that's fantastic. You've worked with trainers before, you've worked by yourself before, you've probably done a ton of different programs and all this stuff. But I figured I would run you through how I write out a program. Anyway, just in case you do have anything, any questions or anything like that, I want to get out ahead of it as much as possible. So I like to do things in supersets. Usually 2 back-to-back exercise grouped together in a superset. So you got A group up here, A1, A2. So you're going to go back and forth. After you finish your 20 reps of A1, you're going to go on to your A2. You finish A2, you're back up to A1. Fair enough. Like I said, I'm sure you've done supersets before, but if you haven't, there you go. You always need to finish the A1 and A2 before you start back again. Once you get done with 3 rounds of A1 and A2, you move on to the B group. All right. So for week 1, all we have is 3 exercises. That's it. Oh, I'm sorry, 3 supersets, not exercises. We have 6 exercises, 3 supersets. So the first one, A1, you're going to do a yoga ball bridge, which I'll go over here in a second. You're going to do 20 reps. Then you're going to move on to A2, goblet thrusters. You're going to do 15 reps. So I have it says 3 times 20, which means you're going to do 3 rounds of 20 reps, 3 sets of 20 reps. So once you do the bridge, you move to the thruster, then you're done with round 1, you're back up for round number 2, starting at the top with A1. The way that I have it set is you are going to progress in your reps every day of the week that we're doing it. So let's say day 1, you're going to do on the yoga ball bridge, we're doing 20 reps. Then day 2, you're doing 25. Day 3, we're doing 30. So actually, the weights that we're using are not going to increase necessarily unless you feel like they have to. It's the reps that are going to increase for this week. Maybe next week it'll be the weights, but for this week, it's going to be the reps of everything. So when you see 20, 25, 30, it means 20 on day 1, 25 on day 2, 30 on day 3. Any other questions as you're going through this? Obviously, you are more than welcome to text me, call me, whatever you need to do. I will absolutely answer you as soon as possible. At the end of every one of my workouts, I love doing finishers. Most of my finishers are usually metabolic in nature, something to get that heart rate up and to keep your metabolism jacked up for a while after you get done with the workout. Sometimes it'll be a muscle builder, sometimes it'll be a strength builder, sometimes it will be a giant set of something for all 3 of the reasons above. Many times it will be some form of a loaded carry because I absolutely love them, as we talked about earlier. Again, any questions, let me know. Welcome officially to week number 1. To start things off, if you remember, one of the big things that you mentioned to me was you really want to take it easy on your legs, mostly your knees, to make sure that they are handling the pressure. You don't want to go too hard, too fast. I completely get it. We are going to start with a legs exercise today, but it's going to be a hamstring dominant exercise that incorporates no knees whatsoever. And the reason for that is twofold. One, having strong hamstrings and a strong butt will provide you with a multitude of benefits, including stronger lower back, stronger overall core, more stable in everything you do. Deadlifts are better, squats are better, all this kind of stuff. But 2, we're going to do this first to start off because putting all that pressure on your hamstrings and your butt right off the bat, is going to take pressure. It's going to put all that blood flow and it's going to activate those muscles behind your legs so that your knees are going to be more comfortable as we move forward in the exercise. This is actually going to be a pretty good thing for you to get used to. Even on off days, you might want to throw a couple of these bad boys in because, again, it is going to help it's going to help your body understand that your hamstrings and your butt need to take on more of the load than your knees. And I'm not just speaking to you when I say you should really concentrate on this. Everybody should concentrate on this. It is a phenomenal way that people can do. Phenomenal way people can fix what we have accidentally broken as far as our movement pattern. So let's get to the exercise. It is grab your yoga ball. We are doing a bridge. So yoga ball is down. I am down too. Feet flat on the ball. The wider my hands are, the more stable I'm going to be. Obviously, the narrower my hands are, the less stable I'm going to be. If my hands are off, I'm very unstable. Make sure you have flat feet on the ball, and your goal is to push your hips up as high as you can possibly get them. So hips up, see how I'm starting to wiggle a little bit? I feel that tension in my hamstrings. Now, hamstrings love a good hold, an isometric hold. So when you get to the top of the movement, I want you to do me a favor and try and hold it for 2 seconds. And then nice and easily come on down. Control. We're always under control. Everything we do is under control. So once again, go up and down. Yes, you're going to a big number, 20 or 25 or 30, depending on the day of the week. That's for a couple different reasons. One, the hamstrings need a lot of volume in order to grow properly. So that's what we're going to do here today. And then two, it's not a strenuous exercise. You're laying down, so your heart rate is not sky high. So you can actually afford to go to a higher number without completely exhausting yourself. Goblet thrusters. You can do this with your kettlebell, depending on how heavy it is. Or you can do this with a dumbbell. I don't know what kind of dumbbells you have, but if you have a hex dumbbell, you grab it like a goblet. But the goblet form is just like this. You're going to hold it right under your chin, off my chest. I'm not resting it on my chest. I have it off my chest a little bit. And a thruster, you're not going into a full squat unless you really, really want to. But you just want to go enough, you just want to go deep enough to where you're really going to get your legs involved so you can help press the weight above your body. You're going to explode into that press. So I like to go nice and not super slow, but just control. I go out just a little bit. I just stick my butt out. I don't worry about my knee bends, just sticking my butt out just a little. Now I'm right here. I'm kind of locked and loaded. My body's ready to explode, and I'm going to use those legs and press that weight right up above my head. I bring it down under control. I reset. You do not need to go right away. Always reset. Make sure you're stable on balance. And I go again. All right, and then I control it back down once again. Number one thing where a lot of people screw up, not just particularly this exercise, but most exercises, is they try and go fast. They try and burn through that set as quickly as possible. It is okay to reset in between every single rep, because your goal should not be to get through every rep without resting. Your goal should be to make every rep as close to perfect form as possible. Back kettlebell deadlift. So I said kettlebell. If you want to use one of your dumbbells, you're more than happy to do it. Again, that depends on the weight of the kettlebell that you have, if it's going to be challenging enough for you. I like the kettlebell just because of the way that they are set up. They have, obviously, in more of that bell formation, I like the handle that they offer you too. So you're going to have one hand, okay? Now we're going to step back with the opposite leg. So if I was in my left hand, I'm stepping back with my right. It's not a giant step back, just a little step back. And then we're going down. I'm going to stick my butt out here. No knee bend involved. I'm just sticking my butt out. So I'm getting that really good, I just fell off balance a little bit. A really good stretch right in this planted leg, my front leg. You do not need to actually get all the way to the ground. Just go low enough to where you're getting a good stretch in that front hamstring. So I'm going down, I'm getting my stretch, and as I pick myself up, I'm coming forward. You're staying on that leg, stick my butt out, coming in. My chest is puffed up nice and high, and I'm just concentrating on sticking my rear end out there. That's gonna make sure my back stays perfectly straight. Side plank row. You can do this off the floor. One, it's a little more difficult, but two, I actually prefer if you use an elevated surface like a box or a bed or a step or whatever, because you get a little more range of motion in your rowing. So not only do you get a little more back and bicep activation, but the longer that you're pulling on that weight, the harder your core is going to be working too. So I got my plyo box set up. Now you can use this with a dumbbell or a kettlebell. It's completely up to you. If you can't row your kettlebell, then it's not up to you anymore. You got to go to your dumbbell. I like the kettlebells because they have that handle up at the very top instead, and they're sticking off the ground a little more, but dumbbells work just as fine. I'm going to use a dumbbell just to show you how it's done with the dumbbell, because that's probably how you're going to be doing it. So, side plank, put your forearm down. The traditional side plank, my feet are out straight. If you need a little bit of added stability, especially since you're going to be rowing some weight, you can take your top foot and kind of wrap it behind, so you're kind of standing up on that foot, but you still have this bottom one out straight, and you still got that nice tension in your core. Now, you go down, grab my dumbbell, I get back in that position, so my dumbbell's just hanging there. I'm just gonna roll it right up at my shoulder. Nice and controlled. You're not gonna be able to use as much weight as you would on a typical row because you're in that position. The stability just isn't there for maximum weight, but you can use a decent amount of weight, but you want it to be weight that you can control and move on a regular basis so you don't have to think about setting it down in between every single rep. Kettlebell swings. I know you weren't a big kettlebell aficionado. What was that? Aficionado, there you go, excuse me. Like your sister, but you got a kettlebell, you might as well use it to master the most important metabolic working exercise out there, in my opinion. Kettlebell swings. So, first thing that you need to know, it is not a squat. There's no knees involved whatsoever. It is all hips, baby. So it's a good thing we opened up those hips earlier today with those bridges. Also, the kettlebell does not need to get all the way up here and then fly all the way under, all right? It doesn't need to move that far. It's just a little pendulum motion. So the kettlebell is just gonna barely go between your legs, and then it goes up to about your belly button level. And it's all your hips creating momentum. Your arms aren't doing any lifting whatsoever. They're just there to hold the kettlebell. I'll do it with just 2 fingers, just hold on to it, just so I can make sure that my hips are doing the work and not my arms. I shouldn't be feeling this in my shoulders. You should feel it in the back of your legs and your hamstrings, in your butt, and in that core right there. So we're gonna stand behind the kettlebell a little bit, kind of reach out for it like we're getting ready to get a snap from a football. And then we're going to bring the kettlebell back in between our legs and push with those hips, and then let it fall straight back. Don't fight it on its way down. Let it just fall with you. Go through enough to where you get a good stretch as you bend over. But again, it's just hips in, butt out. Hips in, butt out. Hips in, butt out. And you see how it's only getting to my belly button. That's all I need to do. None of this. All right, it's just right here. Everything that you do on top of that can either be considered icing on top of the cake for another exercise that we'll do later on, or kind of a waste of time. You don't want to waste time. I don't want to waste your time. So just do it that way, right to the belly button. Now we just got done doing a bunch of hamstring stuff. We did our bridges early on. We just got done with our kettlebell swings. So we want to keep that hamstring momentum going, but we also want to incorporate some new muscles. So we're actually going to do a dumbbell chest fly for those shoulders and that chest, but I'm going to do it using a bridge hold with my legs. So my hamstrings will still be locked into place, still getting that booty work and that hamstring work that we're all about. That's gonna play in huge when it comes to our deadlifts and our hip thrusts later on. So, bridge up. So your hips are up nice and high, okay? And this is a position you're gonna hold. Now I'm gonna start with my dumbbells up, nice bend in my elbows, and then I fly out, so I separate my elbows. I let my elbows touch the ground. I do not want to bounce off the ground. I don't touch the ground. You can lower your head too. I just like looking at the camera when I'm talking to it. And then you're just going to push it back together. So once again, just let it fall apart, nice and controlled. Keep those hips up high the entire time, so your butt's squeezed the entire time, and push them back together. I told you earlier that I like to do a finisher after every workout. Today, we're gonna throw a little metabolic in there. We're gonna do some inchworms. So I don't know if you've done an inchworm before, but you're starting up nice and tall, and then we're gonna get out to the ground. We're gonna crawl out to push-up position, and then we're gonna crawl our way on back. Now, we haven't worked together before, so you're gonna have to let me know if this bothers you for any reason, if the knee bending to get down the ground is a pain, if your wrist just can't handle the walking, whatever the case may be, I can always switch it up. But for right now, this is how we're gonna finish things off. We got 30 of them. I do not expect you to do all 30 unbroken, okay? I completely understand if you get 4, 5, 6, and then have to take a break, and then come on back and get it again. Don't take too long of a break. Just take a little bit of a breather, get yourself ready, and then come back and get a couple more. You gotta keep repeating that process till you get 30, okay? So here's what an inchworm looks like. So we're gonna get down to the ground. I'm gonna put my hands on the ground. Now, you can do big steps, you can do little steps. It's completely up to you. We're walking our way out. We get to nice flat push-up position. Now I'm here, and I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna walk myself on back, and I have to get to a full stand. A lot of people will stop on the ground, that crawl. I want you to come up to a full stand, get some breathers in you, and then go back again, get some more.